Georgia is a 3.5-point dog heading into Austin this weekend. Haven't officially made my pick for the game yet. Still marinating on it. We've got to record our pick story as well, which will be going out this week. But here's the case for Georgia, right? Purpose of this video is for me to sit here and make the case why I think Georgia has it in them to win this football game. Look, rightfully so that they're the underdog. 3.5 points is a little bit more than I thought it would be, but Texas has looked really good this season. Georgia has been up and down. There's been moments where Georgia looks up here, and then there's been moments where Georgia looks like it's down here. So they've been inconsistent. Obviously, have an L on the schedule with the loss to Alabama. Here are reasons. I've got 4 that I'm going to talk about here, and I'm not going to waste your time. First one, Texas hasn't played anybody, guys. I made a video. I've made content this week. I'm sitting here. A lot of it's been really positive about Texas, right? You can go and look at dogpost.com, which, by the way, you should be going to our newsletter because Dean, Matt, and myself are putting a ton of breakdowns about Georgia and Texas over at dogpost.com. Make sure you are going to check that out. You don't want to miss it. So, they haven't played anybody, right? What do they start with? Colorado State. Texas home game against Colorado State. They look great. They look near flawless, right? 52-0. Easy going. And then one of the big hyped up games of the offseason, all offseason, was Texas up and coming, or is Texas back, going up and playing on the road during week 2 in Ann Arbor in Michigan. The defending national champions Michigan, who are going through things. Right? They're going through a coach change. They're going through a quarterback change. They just lost a ton of players to the NFL. Michigan still getting the benefit of the doubt, getting that top 10 ranking. Now, to me, if you asked me heading into the season, I would have told you I don't think Michigan's going to be that great. Right? And now it's been proven with multiple losses. Still, the Wolverines, tough place to play. It's a noon game, early game. Right? I believe it was either noon or 3:30. I just know that Georgia was playing at 2, it had to have been noon because Georgia was playing at 2 o'clock that day, and I was seeing the beginning of that game. They go up there and score pretty easily a couple times. Michigan's defense plays pretty well. Texas turns the ball over a little bit, and then right before the half, Texas gets a turnover. They capitalize on it, and Texas is up by 3 possessions heading into halftime, and it was over. Now, this is a Michigan team that was probably a little bit worse at the beginning of the season than it is now. Went through a quarterback change between now and that game, right? So I don't think that Michigan team is at all the identity that they wanted for the season. Donovan Edwards, those running backs aren't what they've been hyped up to be, and they just don't have as much talent. I think it's a great win. You go on the road, you play a Big Ten school, you win by 19 points, right? It's hard to complain about. But this was not a game where I thought Texas just blew me out of the water. I was like, oh my goodness, right? So this is, I'm making the case for Georgia here. I'm talking about Texas not playing anybody. The week after that, UTSA, 56-7, easy money. Quinn Ewers gets hurt, and Arch Manning enters the game, and they don't miss a beat with Arch out there. UL Monroe, same thing. They don't miss a beat with UL Monroe. They win 51-3, but at the same time, it's like, hey, I don't know. I'm not sure. Ryan Curley from Dawg Post, by the way, again, make sure you're signing up for our newsletter. I might plug that a couple more times, and I'll be quick about it. So then you get to the following week, their first SEC game, their first official SEC game. It comes against Mississippi State. Arch Manning is still out there. Quinn Ewers dealing with the midsection. I can't remember if it was his oblique. I think it was his oblique, which would be in the front. 35-13 final score. It took it was 21-6, I believe, at the beginning of the fourth quarter of that game. Mississippi State, again, they deal with. I'm going to confirm that Mississippi State has made a quarterback change since that game. It'll take me just 2 seconds to confirm that, guys, real quick. No, so Michael Van Buren's been out there for at least a few weeks now. He has a bad game against Texas. Texas is a good defense. This is in Austin. It's too easy, right? We saw Georgia and Mississippi State. Georgia allowed Mississippi State more points than Texas did, but look, Mississippi State, I mean, to me, there were concerns coming out of that game for Georgia. You have fewer concerns coming out of that game for Texas as the win was a little bit cleaner and a little bit more of a four-quarter win where They had control. Georgia had control, but it felt like they lost a little bit of that control later in that game, right? So that's a little bit anti-Georgia here, but again, my point here is that Texas has not played anybody tough. And then I get it. I'm going to get a little bit of backlash from my comments here. Red River rivalry. Last week, Oklahoma, Texas, it's a 3:30 kick. It's a big rivalry game. Oklahoma's not good, guys. They're just not. And they've lost multiple games now. They lost to Tennessee. They look terrible. They've benched Jackson Arnold in that Tennessee game. They've gone to the backup Hawkins. He's not a great thrower of the football, or at least not. And this is not. I'm not calling him a dumb guy, but the football IQ is just not quite there yet. He can run around, and that can be really special. But Ewers comes back. They run the ball really well against Oklahoma. I think the more impressive thing is just the fact that they controlled it from start to finish pretty much, right? About halfway through, maybe towards the end of the first quarter is when they started controlling the game, 34-3. But again, I don't think this Oklahoma team is very good. They haven't played, to me, a team that's probably going to... I mean, Michigan might finish ranked. I'm not, but outside of that, they haven't played a team like that. I don't think Oklahoma is going to finish this football season ranked with a big loss like that. A close win against Auburn, the loss against Tennessee. They're probably going to lose again, if we're being honest. So by far, Georgia is the best team, by far, that this Oklahoma team, or that Texas is going to play. They have a quarterback that is significantly better than any quarterback they've seen. They've got a defense that's got, Oklahoma's got talent on defense. Michigan's got talent on defense. As shaky as there have been moments for Georgia's defense, it's a more complete defense than those in terms of just talent they have across the board. And then there's the coaching aspect as well. I'll make that my next point. The coaching aspect. Kirby Smart, right? Is Kirby Smart the best coach in college football? He got out-coached for a good portion of that Alabama game. The answer is yes. Kirby Smart is the best coach in college football at the moment. 2 national championships under the belt, the recruiting classes, all of that heading into it. You get it. Steve Sarkisian is really good. These guys know about each other. You give the benefit of the doubt to Kirby. They've been in these situations a little bit more, although Texas made the playoff last year, and they are on the rise with Sarkisian. Next thing, and it flowed a little bit better if I actually did this. Second of all, newsletter, by the way, newsletter. But Georgia has been tested, right? First of all, they played one road game, Texas. They've got one neutral site, one road game. Otherwise, it was 1, 2, 3, 4 home games. Georgia's had now a neutral site against Clemson, in which they dominated, and Clemson's now a top 10 team. Are they really? Probably. Went on the road and had to win a fight against Kentucky. Went on the road and lost a big fight to Alabama. A little bit more tested on that part from Georgia's aspect of it. And they have the L. Usually, for a team that's as good as this Georgia team, an early season loss can be a good thing. I'm not going to twist it and just talk about how great it is, but I do think that for Kirby, you can see how proud he was of those guys, and I think that they're going to use what they learned in that game moving forward. Now, this is a different beast. But again, Georgia has been tested. They've been in fights this year. I like that. Now, you can also like the fact that Texas is destroying people, even if it is what they should be doing. Last point. Georgia hasn't lost to any program other than Alabama in the last 4 or 5 years. 2020 Florida regular season. In this decade, the 2020s, Georgia's lost to Alabama a few times, and they lost to Florida once. You'd have to go back to the 2019 SEC Championship for their previous loss before that, which was against LSU. And obviously they lost to South Carolina that season as well. But it's been a long time since this Georgia team and since Kirby Smart has lost to someone other than Alabama/Nick Saban, right? Going back 4 years ago, guys. COVID. We've been through a whole presidential term since the last time Georgia lost to a team other than Alabama. So you trust Kirby, and we're not including just these regular season cupcake games. That includes the TCU game, the Ohio State game, the Michigan game, some of these other big matchups, right? Georgia's winning all of them. Now, I don't know if the team's quite as good this year, and Texas is really, really good, but you head into this matchup, you've got at least a little bit of confidence about Georgia because of the situation, right? I mean, it's been a long time. Kirby outcoaches almost every single game, and these players are really good. That's the case for Georgia. Thanks for watching.